Hello, everyone. Welcome back to, where are we, Jay?
The Cancer Sucks podcast.
Yeah, we are back with a live, in the moment, real-time weekly update episode. We've jumped on after I've been gone for a long time out of the country, and it's time to get a real update. You guys have heard some of our episodes from 2025, and now we're back, live and in the flesh. How you doing,
I'm jealous.
Jay?
You went on a cruise. You were all over Europe. You went to South Korea. Wow.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. And the Korea part was unexpected. It was a last-minute addition for a work trip. I could not be more grateful. It was amazing. But I'm happy to be back, too.
We're happy to have you back. We missed you.
I missed you guys, as always. So tell me, how have things been going? I guess the last almost 5 or 6 weeks since everyone has heard a live update. So what's been going on? Fill us in.
Well, weeks are like lifetimes when you're dealing with cancer because things tend to change so much. I know we all celebrated the 4th yesterday or this past weekend, I guess. So I have my 4th of July American hat on. Happy 250 America.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. But listen, I'm staying very positive as always. There's been some challenges, and we'll kind of talk through them. This past Friday, the June 26th, was actually the 3rd anniversary of my diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. So it's officially been 3 years, which I got to tell you, does not seem possible at all. And when I think about everything, it's kind of crazy, really, that my poor body has been through in the last 3 years. But hey, we're still here. We're still kicking it. And really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So I'm very, thankful to the medical team and to God for all of that. But so let me give you kind of a quick update. So, I had started my 3rd round of chemo. And what I mean by that, so I've been on chemo for 3 years off and on. But what they have to do, and we've talked about this before, is they have to mix up the cocktail because those pesky little cancer cells are really smart because they adapt and they know they're being attacked at a certain point. And they adapt and they develop immunity towards whatever version of cocktail you're giving them. And so you literally have to then come up with another version. And I think within pancreatic cancer, there's about 6 different chemo drugs that are available. And so the doctors determine sort of what that cocktail, if you will be like, essentially. So the last one I was only on for a month, which meant I only really received a couple of infusions. And they're like, yeah, this isn't working. And so they actually went back to an original cocktail that I had had when I was first diagnosed, ironic enough, 3 years ago. And it's a nasty one. It's a hard one. It does a lot in terms of cold sensitivity. Crazy things like it hurts you to like breathe in an open freezer door because your body just gets this really bad reaction to anything cold. If you turn on the faucet just to wash your hands and it's cold water, it actually stings. So you have to wait for it to heat up. So it's kind of a weird thing. And so I'm dealing with that right now. And of course, 3 years ago, when I had originally started this, my body had not really dealt with chemo before. So it was a little more built up where it's a little more torn down now. So I'm getting a lot more fatigue with this particular round of chemo. Now, I've only had one version of it, and, I've got another version coming up, actually, when this airs that day. And again, it's very similar. I go in for 2 infusions, and then I get my chemo to go pack that I get to have on for a couple of weeks that I travel with. And so that's kind of where we are now. And as far as treatment is concerned, as I think everyone knows, I'm waiting on this brand new medicine that was a real breakthrough for pancreatic cancer. In fact, I think it's one of the first breakthroughs they've had in just about forever with pancreatic cancer. And it's a drug called Daraxonrasib. Very tough to pronounce, by the way. But as I found out that each one of those words, the DAR, the RAX, all of that means something to doctors. I couldn't even begin to describe what that would be, but the doctors know. I think we talked before, there are KRAS. Those are things that happen to your cells that cause the cancer cells to happen within pancreatic cancer because, cells start off normally and then they get this KRAS that causes them to change into cancer cells, essentially. And so about 80% of all pancreatic cancers have some type of KRAS that's involved. And so this is one of the very first drugs that actually attacks that. And
Mm.
that's why they've had success. And in fact, during their clinical trials, they showed that they were able to keep people with stage 4 pancreatic cancer around for at least another 18 months,
Wow.
which is really monumental. And what's so great about that is, when you have an inoperable disease, in my case, cancer, there's other inoperable diseases out there. What you're hoping to do is just prolong your time. Obviously, you want to enjoy your time here, but also in hopes that there may be some other things, other drugs that come along that may help you even prolong it more. And so you kind of get into this little bit of a game where it's like, okay, 18 months. I know to the average person, that may not seem like enough, and it's really not, by the way, but to somebody that could be looking at 6 months, 18 months is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're really hoping that that medication can keep you around long enough to where another medication maybe comes up
Mm.
and keeps you around another 18 and another 18 and so on and so forth. And so I've been very optimistic about this. I'm actually on the wait list for City of Hope. I'm actually one of the first people that they put on that list. And then at MD Anderson in Phoenix, the challenge has been, and it's been a little frustrating, and I'll be honest about that, is that everyone is waiting for this drug now. And so when you have stage 4 pancreatic cancer, the worst thing you can do is make someone wait because every day truly, truly matters. And so I've
Mm-hmm.
seen there's a wonderful caregiver on TikTok that has been doing daily videos for her husband, trying to get the attention of Revolution Medicines, which actually has created this drug. And there's just a lot of red tape because essentially the drug has not officially been approved by the FDA, which means, of course, you could just go to your local Walgreens and pick it up. What it has been is it's called expanded access. And so essentially, there are a couple of things that happen with the FDA. Clinical trials is obviously the first thing, and they do these trials to see, does this drug really work? Does it really make a difference? And that's kind of step one. And step two is then expanded access, which means you don't necessarily have to be in a clinical trial to be approved for this drug, but it's not approved for general use by the FDA. And that's kind of where we are right now. And so there's a lot of people, sadly, people with stage 4 pancreatic cancer right now trying to get this drug. Because again, I mean, this makes a difference. This keeps you around longer. And
Right.
certainly we all want to be around longer, right?
Oh, yes. And can I ask
Sure.
it, I understand the way that, we need approvals and for typical medication, you need to make sure
Right.
there's no more harm than there is good. But I'm surprised that there can't be more faster access for people who maybe are so far along where they're like, it's
Yeah.
this or nothing. And I literally, if something bad happens because of it, it's the same as if I don't get to try the medication. And
Yeah.
I'm surprised that there's still so many hurdles for that, just because you would think there's a group that could willingly kind of submit themselves to like, hey, I'm down to take the risk of any of the
Sure.
side effects or whatever because it's better than what I'm going through right now.
By the way, I completely agree with you. It is, I'm told, government red tape. I'm told corporate red tape.
Yeah.
We all know red tape is red tape. And,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. It's definitely not one of those things you want to hear when your very life depends on it.
Yeah.
This
Of
is
course.
a very serious thing, and it's unfortunate, but it's not like, well, some people are getting it and some people aren't. It really seems like no one's getting it right
Mm.
now, and they're trying very hard. I understand that there is a kind of an intermediate company, and the name escapes me, that Revolution works with, and they help with the distribution. And so apparently between Revolution, the distribution, and the FDA, there's just a lot that has to be done. And then obviously you're dealing with the clinical side of things where you have cancer centers, like in the case of MD Anderson, that have already done clinical trials. So they actually
Mm-hmm.
have some patients from the clinical trials on the medication. But then you have other facilities like City of Hope, for instance, that didn't do the clinical trials. So they're just trying to get the expanded access approval to get that drug. So it is, very frustrating. I would, encourage anyone to hang in there that's kind of in my situation that's waiting. And again, these are things, by the way, 3 years ago, I couldn't have told you a clinical trial from an expanded access to I have a
Totally.
pretty good idea of what the FDA does, but not completely, totally know what the FDA does. So,
Yeah, you speak
th-
the
th-
language now.
but it goes back to what we always talk about, Adrienne, which is, you really have to be your advocate. And that again, and I always like to say this is not a knock on the doctors at all. They have lots of patients. They do an amazing job, but that's just it. They have a lot of patients. And so you literally owe it to yourself and your family to be the advocate for you, to know where this stuff is. I'm very fortunate in my situation, and I have an amazing wife who listens to seminars and panels and follows clinical trials and talks to doctors. And, she could at this point probably get into pre-med if she wanted to, because she's become such an expert in this where I just really I try to focus on just taking care of myself. That's about all I can do at this point. But she's really been great at really staying on top of this, and it's really helped me out tremendously. And I've reached out to some other areas and other people that I hope can help, and still waiting to hear back. But I'm not just sitting idly by going, well, eventually they'll get around to
Mm-hmm.
me, because you can't. You really,
Mm-hmm.
every day is a gift. Every day is important. And so you kind of owe it to yourself to do the best that you can. And
Absolutely.
again, I think we all need to be, especially in this world of insurance and everything else, we need to be our biggest advocate in terms of what we need. And,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a message I would give to anyone, even if you're not battling a terminal disease, whatever you have. Don't
Mm-hmm.
just sit back and assume that it's all going to be taken care of, because, you're a number and there's a lot of people out there. And
Yeah,
so, take care of yourself. I think that's really important. So, the
absolutely.
medication we're waiting on, we're on the new chemo regimen. I did get the results of my CT scan back, which, by the way, were not great. I have had some more spread into my liver with the tumors from the pancreatic cancer. So they basically have doubled. The 19.9 number, which is, again, one of several measurements they use in pancreatic cancer to determine the presence of cancer cells within your body. Mine went from, I was cruising around 130, 140, which is high, but not terrible, to now I'm just under 1,000. So needless to say, that was not what I was wanting to see. But
Mm-mm.
it just shows you how quickly this stuff can not only spread, but really get some momentum behind it. So you really have to continue in that battle. I am actually going in for an MRI as well, and hopefully we'll have those results soon, because I am getting quite a bit of pain in my lower back, which again is another place that the cancer likes to spread into. So they want to make sure that nothing too crazy is happening there. And I am scheduled to, this week, as a matter of fact, when this episode airs, have a nerve block procedure, which I've been waiting on, where they will actually go in and they will burn the nerves in my back. I know that sounds horrible. It's really not painful. And the nerves do grow back. So you're not doing any kind of damage. But what you're doing essentially is eliminating some of the pain. And that's important. Pain management, quality of life as you're battling this, because there are a lot of things that kind of come up along the way that you've
Mm-hmm.
got to deal with. Fortunately for me, I have my Cancer Sucks stress ball that I
Let's
squeeze a
go.
lot.
Yeah, and we're both, if you guys are watching on YouTube, you can see we're actually both wearing our purple Cancer
Yes,
Sucks
we are.
podcast t-shirts today, which is great.
We are indeed.
You look good, Jay. You look good. And so I have some follow-up
Thank you.
questions. So,
Yes. Oh,
all
one
right.
other thing, Adrienne, I just
Yeah.
wanted to mention, and I wanted to thank the American Cancer Society and all of our supporters. As you remember, we did Relay for Life as well as the PanCan Walk a couple of months ago. And I was fortunate enough that I was able to raise a little over $3,000 for each of those causes, thanks to our amazing group of friends and family and people that are out there. And so I
Woohoo.
got this lovely thank you card, which I appreciate so much, from Abby Smith at the American Cancer Society here in Santa Clarita. But what really meant a lot to me was I got this amazing certificate, which
Wow,
I
look at
thought was
that.
really cool. And it talks about, the money that we were able to raise. And gosh, I got to tell you, that really meant a lot to me. And I want to thank everybody out there who contributed whatever you contributed, even the ones that couldn't contribute but said, hey, have a good walk and we're supporting you and we're behind you. Really meant a lot, because that money all goes to the American Cancer Society, where it not only helps people with pancreatic cancer, but all kinds of different cancers. And then obviously with the PanCan Walk behind that, where we were able to help specifically with pancreatic cancer research. So I wanted to thank everyone for that. That was kind of a nice surprise that came in the mail that I wasn't expecting.
I
They sent me a
love
really
that.
nice sweatshirt because I'm part of the Grand Club, thanks to everybody. So I got some nice new wardrobe to keep me warm, which even though we're in the summer, I need to stay warm because I get cold a
Mm-hmm.
lot. So I appreciated that. But I wanted to thank the American Cancer Society and PanCan for recognizing, all of our amazing followers and people that have helped contribute to that. So
That's so
thanks,
sweet.
Adrienne.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys, everyone listening. And no, that's beautiful. I love that. And I love that it was a little surprise.
Yes.
And that's awesome. And I'm sure you're very happy to be living in Santa Clarita right about now, because if you guys didn't know, it usually gets really, really hot there in the summer. Like, even the
Yes.
difference between where I live and where he lives is a massive temperature change. And normally it's, it can be miserable. And I'm sure you're so happy now that, let it get to 100, let it get to 105.
I've determined that I have somehow morphed into a reptile. Watching the wild lizards out here, I'm like, I can relate, in the
That's
morning
so
they're cold, they don't really move well, and then it starts getting warmer and they're like, hey, I'm feeling pretty good now. So yeah, I'm kind of the same way actually now.
You are a reptile. I honestly
Pretty
wonder what that
much.
feels like. That's a flex. That's a huge flex. Way to go. Well, okay, a lot has happened. So in this span, you've gotten some new updates that are maybe not the
Yes.
most fun updates. You've begun a new chemo, or I guess an old chemo, but restarting again.
Right.
And you've hit a 3-year milestone, which is crazy to me that the time has gone that fast, but also so much has happened and it feels slow and fast. And I want to talk about these things a little bit,
Sure.
as well as a couple other questions that might pertain to viewers. First of all, starting with, we don't have to dwell on the updates, but I know when you first got your updates, you so kindly sent me, a little update via text of just what was going on. And I'm always so grateful to get kind of the real-time updates, because a lot of times, I'm sure for you, you get the news, you have your thoughts and your reaction, and you talk to family, and then you kind of sit with it. And then by the time we jump on here, some time has passed a little bit, and there's a little bit maybe of getting used to it, or, coming to terms with it. And I just want to know, like, because you're so positive and you're so strong, and I know a lot of people look up to you for that, you're also a human being, and you also have real reactions to things when you first hear them. And I just really want to know, like, when you do get news like that, what is the feeling and the emotion, and how do you kind of bring yourself back to center? And you've gotten so much news over the course of this journey, both good and bad. And so, it's kind of, it'd be so hard to hear that, I can imagine. And then at the same time, I look back at all the times that there have maybe been little blips or bumps, or, oh, there's bleeding, or there's this or that, the whack-a-mole, like we always talk about. And
Yes.
so what was this time? Was this different? Did this feel different? I know even in your initial text to me, you said, but I'm still fighting. I'm not giving up. I'm staying positive and strong. So, like, Do you have any advice for other people in that situation when they do hear a piece of news that isn't news they want? And what happened for you during that?
I appreciate that, Adrienne. I mean, look, I try to be very positive, as everyone knows, and I appreciate everyone when they say you're one of the most positive people we've ever met. And but look, at the end of the day, I'm human just like everybody else, and you know, it would really hard for me is when I have to process how I'm going to explain this to my family, to my kids. When my wife is there when she's receiving the news in real time with me, and I just see, all the color drain from her face, and the hope that we all keep hold of just suddenly starts to, falter a bit, which is, by the way, normal. I mean,
Mhm.
my goodness, why wouldn't it when you get this news? And for me, that's honestly the hardest part. I mean, I've made peace with myself, with God, that I realize at some point my life may, my journey may end. And by the way, it's going to end for all of us at some point, but
Mhm.
I certainly appreciate and understand that what I'm dealing with is a very serious thing. I never, ever take that for granted. And I never take that lightly. But at the same time, I feel for me that I need to just keep moving forward and understand that, yes, I know the percentages are against me. I know the odds are against me, but every cancer and every patient is different. So while the doctors in the medical field have to group everyone sort of together, I understand why they do that. Individually, we have to look at this is a unique case. This is me. This isn't me and thousands of other people. And so I have really tried very hard to go, okay, I know the percentages, I know the odds, but this is me. And I can only say this, Adrienne, I've been doing this for 3 years. I think the doctors are impressed that I'm still here,
Mhm.
which, always makes me feel good when they go, you look great, keep doing whatever you're doing. And really what I'm doing is I'm following their instructions. I try to eat healthier, but I don't always succeed at that. I have my vices and, my Cheetos that I like, my Doritos
Mhm.
that I like, things that probably are not the healthiest for me, but that's okay,
Can't blame you. Can't blame you.
Exactly. But the positivity part of this, even in the face of where things are not good, you know, obviously I have a lot of faith, and I believe that personally for me that's helped me a lot.
Mhm.
My family and friends have helped me tremendously along the way, especially my core family, my wonderful wife and our kids. They've all just done such a great job of being here for me. It's hard not to be positive and hard not to want to be here.
Mhm.
So, my way of answering that question to you is literally everything I just said is literally what goes through my head in a nanosecond when I
Yeah.
get this kind of news. And it is really, really hard because I realize I am running out of options.
Mhm.
Medically speaking, you're never out of options, in my opinion, when it relates to faith. But medically
Mhm.
speaking, you do run out of options at a certain point. And, that brings me to the other thing that I will bring up is I would never fault anyone that basically goes, I'm tired of this. I'm done. I'm just going to focus on living whatever life I've got left. And I know that sometimes people can be very critical of people like that, but you have to understand when you're in this battle, it is exhausting. It is nonstop medical appointments, nonstop scans, nonstop everything. And it's
Mhm.
coming at you 24/7. I mean, you literally sleep and you wake up the next day and like, okay, how many doctor's appointments do I have this week? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so exhausting, and your body just starts to feel it. And your body, we talked a little bit before we started recording today that I get a whole nother kind of fatigue tired that I can't even describe, where I literally just have to lay down. And
Mhm.
I have to be careful driving. I can't drive long distances because I get really, really tired.
Yeah.
And it's the body that basically wants to shut down for a little bit and kind of recharge because
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
batteries aren't what they used to be,
And
because
it
of all
needs
this
to. It's trying
medication.
to heal. It's using
Yes,
every ounce of your power to try to fight this off.
exactly.
It's also using every ounce of your power to let the chemo do its
That's
job.
right.
And absolutely, I mean, being tired it must feel so strange, but it's so it's such a positive thing in the sense of, your body's like going to work for you right there. And like fighting it is just prolonging that. So I'm like happy
Exactly.
that you're in that state of being able to like recover that way. But it must be, a pain because you're like, why am I sleeping at,
Well, and
noon?
and I to that point, I'll say, Adrian, one of the things that I have really started to focus on a lot more is what am I doing to try and help my body between infusions? Because
Mm-hmm.
just like a professional athlete has to build their body back up after their competition or after a match or a game, it's kind of the same way when you're dealing with this. What can you do to help kind of get your body back as quickly as possible, knowing that you're going to go right back through
Yeah.
that gauntlet one more time,
Yeah.
while you
Absolutely.
have to get that next infusion. And so,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on alternative medicines in different ways to really get your body back, I think is important as well.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's not so much the alternative ways of curing or looking to do anything with the cancer per se, but it is in terms of getting the body back as quickly as possible. So I know that the body can keep fighting because, your mind is a strong, strong thing and you can will a lot. At a certain point, physically, your body has just taken so much, it's going to raise its hand and go, okay, I gotta take a break here. So you do have to be in tune with your body. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably more in tune with my body than I've ever been in my entire life. Never thought I would ever need to really be in tune with my body. It'd just be like, it's attached, it's all following me and take my lead. But really not the case. You really do need to listen to it when you're going through something like this. But honestly, and we talk about this idea that cancer sucks, but your life doesn't have to. And this really gets back to the true meaning of that, which is, yes, it's tough going through all of this, but there are so many special moments that happen along the way that you really just need to be in tune with and be appreciative of when you have those opportunities to do something extra, with your wife or your significant other. Be able to spend a little extra time with a friend that maybe you haven't spent time with in the past and just be in those moments. And that sounds like a simple thing, but we all know we get busy. We've got electronics, we got other things that keep us occupying our time. And sometimes just being in those moments make a huge difference. They certainly have for me. And you appreciate those moments so much more because you
Yeah.
can just zip through. And even though, you may have a life where, you're, 60, 70, 80 years old and you've had a great life, but what's the quality been? Have you really been in touch? Have you really been focused for those people around you? Have you been present for them?
Mm-hmm.
So there's different levels of quality time that I think you learn when you go through something like this, where you're going like, you know what? I'm going to really focus on the quality time. I'm not going to focus on just trying to hurry through something. And if it is just a 10-minute encounter, let me be present for that entire
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes and get the
Mm-hmm.
most out of that I can ultimately.
Absolutely. And I think a time that really, I think that's something that humans in general struggle with, especially as you get older. When you're a kid, you don't really have a concept of how long time is. You're also not making your own plans. Your parents are doing everything for you. And as you get older, you start to be the one who plans and thinks ahead. And I've noticed that I think this constant having to think ahead and plan is pulling you out of the moments. And it's actually such a hard skill to be able to like not do that and keep yourself in the moments. And I think a period of time that really helped a lot of people with that, and I know it definitely put things in perspective for me, was during COVID in
Yeah.
2020, that lockdown. It was one of the first times in life that I literally couldn't think beyond one day because we had no idea what was going to happen, what we were allowed to do, what we weren't, what the next news would be. And I just remember feeling so like my eyes were so open at that point of how slow time felt because you just had to be in the moment. And I remember after that trying really hard to channel that same feeling because I was
Yeah.
learning, oh, it really spreads out time when you're not constantly thinking ahead. All you can think about is the present moment. And it's challenging. It's so challenging. Even knowing that, I still struggle sometimes with it because you're constantly just thinking ahead and you're getting into this routine and it's always the next thing, the next thing. And if there was even an example of that too, I love the point you brought up about spending quality time because even when I was just on this trip for 3 weeks, weeks. Jay, that 3 weeks felt like 8 years. And 3 weeks here at home in my routine can go by in the blink of an eye.
Yes.
And I got back from that trip and I was like, oh my gosh, I've lived 5 lifetimes within the span of 3 weeks. And so again, like new experiences and new just putting yourself into certain things that you don't normally do, or just spending that quality time and being present, I also think really draws out the feeling of that time, which can be really good.
Totally agree. Totally
So I
agree
love
with you on that.
I love that. And no, thank you for all of your wisdom. I think, not to beat a dead horse, we talk about positivity so much, but something that I think we touch on, at least we have on the phone together, is like the literal ability, though, that our brains have to make a difference in the body, like that actual mind-body connection. And it's not just about fluffiness. It's not just even about faith, but the faith allows for the mind to really believe and
That's right.
know that you can be okay. And they have done some crazy studies and experiments in the history of life where people have been capable of using their mind to will certain parts of the body to behave a certain way, because the brain is the command center and the brain is what is controlling every part of the body, including breathing, including every involuntary thing, everything every cell does. And I find it so fascinating, the art of trying to figure out how to tap into kind of that subconscious part, because we only use about 5% of we only consciously are aware of like 5% of our
Yeah.
brain. And so all these other things are happening in the background that we're just not conscious of. And people have done experiments and hypnosis and all these different things to try to allow your own thoughts to basically change what the brain is doing. And people have even stopped like their blood flow for a second, all these crazy things. Anyway, not that that's what you're doing, but I just think it all goes to show that all this positivity talk, it's not just fluff. It really, really, really can make a difference. And so I'm trying to channel that in my life, your positivity and the manifestation. And just, I think that's such great advice for everyone out there.
And I think it's important, Adrienne, because look, again, when you get this kind of diagnosis, again, in my situation, it's cancer, but it could be any number of different things and terrible things that are out there. It's human nature to be angry about that. Why me? Why me and why not that other person that, I know is not a good person? Why
Yeah,
me?
absolutely.
And the reality is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why me. And it doesn't really matter, because once it's you, it's you, right? So I can be angry about it and I could spend all my time trying to figure out why me, or I could go, you know what? How am I going to get through it now? Okay. The why part doesn't really matter, because here I am.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now
Mhm.
it's about, what do I do to get through it?
Mhm.
And the reality is, I think sometimes a lot of the why me is because those other people are not going to teach a very good lesson, because they're probably going to get something and it's probably going to take them out pretty quickly, because that's the kind of people they are. Whereas
Mhm.
someone that's positive is going to be able to lead by example and show you, you know what, you can live with this. You can beat this.
Absolutely.
It's not easy, but you can do it. And I
Yeah.
think that has a lot to do with it. And so I understand the anger. I really, really do. But I'm here to tell you, in every case and point I've witnessed, and I've seen a lot of angry people, it's not
It's
served
not
them at all. And in fact,
Nope.
it's probably cut their time in half,
Mhm.
because they've spent their time being angry rather than, okay, I got it. Don't care why. What can I do about it now? How can I beat it? What can
Yeah.
I do to get through it?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's really the most important thing. The why,
Absolutely.
I don't know why I got pancreatic cancer. I have no idea. I don't even spend time thinking
Doesn't
about it,
even
because
matter at this point.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It really
Exactly
doesn't. You can't
right.
go back. You can't go
No,
back. And
exactly.
speaking of cutting time in half or not, 3 years, Jay Williams, 3 years. And not only 3 years, you guys, I think I have only witnessed you one time where I actually thought to myself, "Oh, you seem tired or sick." Once. One time. One time. Like every time that I've seen you and talked to you, I am floored at how just vibrant you, and you can't just fake that. Like, yes, you have a positive attitude, but I can feel it in my bones that you are actually doing well. And so when you give me these updates, and I want to ask you how you felt about the 3-year, anniversary, because wow, so many thoughts about that. But when you give me the news and when you called me up about your new scans, I literally was like, yeah, but but it's you. You're good. Like, you just are good. I just feel, I don't know what it is, but I feel like your body is just fighting this crap, and you do not seem like someone who has been battling pancreatic cancer for 3 years. And that is so encouraging to me, whether it's just, I don't know what it is, but sometimes you get these just gut feelings and I don't feel negative energy around your illness right now, which, call me I don't know, maybe I'm a little witchy, I don't know, but I just don't have a negative feeling about it at all, which I think is very encouraging to me.
Well, I really appreciate that, Adrienne. That means a lot to me. And I think again, we don't want to just keep going over and over. Be positive, it's lollipops and unicorns.
Yeah,
It's great. But I do think though that you can change the tide by staying positive with these and go, these instances where you get this kind of news, and you really can will yourself, and you do that. It starts in your mind, and you really you have to make a conscious effort. And believe me, there have been plenty of times that I've been exhausted. I get sometimes the scan anxieties, like everyone. When you're getting plugged into the machine, like, well, when am I going to find out? This time. But I really choose to go like, well, whatever it is, I'm going to get through this. And I really, and deep down in my mind, the message I send to those cancer cells inside my body each and every day is, you messed with the wrong person, because you are not going to win this one. You're just
right.
not. And I think you need that kind of attitude to go in there and say, it's not happening, we talked about the power of music, and I've got my own little playlist, the Tom Petty song, I Won't Back Down.
I love that song.
I live that song every single day. And it's like, stand me up the gates of hell. I'm not gonna back down.
Nope.
And you really have to adopt that attitude and not just say it, but live it every single day. And I try to, and I really do. And, look, I can tell you after 3 years, I can feel where my body is lacking in some areas where, who wouldn't, by the way, after all of this. But overall, I feel really good, comparatively speaking, for somebody that's been battling this for so long. And this is one of the reasons why I'm hoping this medication comes through, because what that medication will do, in addition to, I hope, prolong things, is it will take me off of chemo. And I think the taking off of chemo will allow my body to even recover more, which it really needs to at this point, because the chemo, while it is still the best option that we currently have when it comes to fighting cancer, and all the research shows that, it also it doesn't discriminate. It goes in and it just, it's the shock and awe of everything, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It's a tough thing. So I'm hopeful that will happen. But I appreciate you saying that, Adrienne. And again, the whole reason we're doing this is we want to try to help other people. It's really simple. This isn't about clicks. This isn't about, how much ad revenue can we make? How much merch can we push? Not about that at all. And Adrienne, by the way, has been very successful on her own, doing her own thing without needing a podcast on cancer to help her. She's just been kind enough to step in here with me,
oh
which
my gosh, my pleasure.
Appreciate, because we want to bring this message out, especially to people that are being first diagnosed, or to somebody that may know someone, to say, hey, give a listen. Maybe this might ultimately help you out. I mean, you never know ultimately.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate that. And I will say, we're starting to get to a point now where I'm very excited. We've had a lot of people starting to reach out that want to be on the show, and we want you on the show, by the way. And so we actually have an email that Adrienne set up for us. So I'm going to let Adrienne tell you that email. But please, if you're interested in being on the show and sharing your story with us, we'd love to have you as part of that, just so you don't always have to listen to just Adrienne and I. We can mix it up a little bit.
Totally. Please.
Which we appreciate. But we've got some great guests coming up that I think everyone's going to enjoy. And look, everyone has their different journeys, and I'm fascinated myself to hear about everyone else's journeys, because I've only been on mine. So I'd love to hear about everyone else's journeys too. If you know someone, or we have a firefighter that reached out to us, and this is really interesting, and he's going to be on our show. He's going to talk about the dangers that firefighters have in terms of cancer, because, these are people, men and women, that are out there fighting fires on a regular basis, that are constantly getting different chemicals in their bodies. And we saw this a lot with 9/11, and a lot of the first responders that have, many have since passed because of the diseases that they acquired, unfortunately, during their heroic time of trying to save people during 9/11. And so we're going to talk to this gentleman about some of the different things that he's been doing to help other firefighters. Of course, my son's a firefighter, so I'm very interested in, learning more about this. I think
Totally.
this gentleman's based in Florida, which I'm excited, to hear from him. So these are just some examples of what we have coming up. But what is that email if someone wants to get in touch with us, Adrienne?
Yeah, so it's very simple. It's just cancersuckspodcast@gmail.com. Cancersuckspodcast@gmail.com. So yeah, send us an email. Let us know that you are interested in being a guest. We would love to have you, as Jay said. And yeah, I think you bring up a good point. It's really interesting getting all these different kind of perspectives and different takes, because I feel like it's also very educational. There is a little bit more knowledge now about things like that, environmental factors, or, types of work environments that could create or increase your risk of things like this. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of stuff that goes under the radar. For example, I developed a new hobby of rug tufting, which is like shooting yarn into a fabric that ends up creating a rug. And something I'm very lucky that I ended up seeing this girl's video where she was talking about how it is so important to wear protection on your face when you are doing this activity, especially when you're cutting the yarn. And not only like a mask, but actually one of those, what are they called? Like a respirator,
Right.
actual filter, because when you're cutting the yarn, these micro fibers of the yarn will fly around. And lo and behold, I started doing it, and you almost don't notice it. But then when you kind of look around, there's all this fluff from the yarn. And so I'm so thankful that this person, said that right away, because not that I'm doing this hobby every single day, but maybe I will. And then, a few years can go by, and it's like, imagine I'm breathing in all of that stuff day after day. It can't be great. So I think it's just helpful for educational sake too, of just, those are the things, you don't necessarily think about the lungs in the sense of anything besides smoke or secondhand smoke or smoking. But it's also like a bunch of other chemicals that you could be breathing. And anyway,
Absolutely.
I'm just really fascinated by that part of it and the education. And I think
I'm fascinated by your new hobby. I want to see the Cancer Sucks rug. I'm looking forward to that.
I need to make a Cancer Sucks rug. Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
It'll be so good. I've got some purple yarn. You guys just wait. Maybe we'll auction it off for some donations for
there's
research
a good idea.
money or something.
I just love the idea that I can walk on cancer. I love that.
I love that too. We should just make a rug that says cancer, and you just can walk all over it.
Right, you just walk on it, stomp your feet on it. I love that.
I love that too. That's coming. That's in the works. But yeah, please really do reach out if you're interested in being on.
Yes.
Spread the word in general, again, about the show. It's so helpful just to get other people,
and we appreciate all of you so much, because there's only so much we can do to get the word out. And again, we do this because we really believe we can help other people. And that's really our number one objective. So, if you have someone or know someone going through this, or even if you have had it in the past, and your doctors, your nurses, your cancer facilities, please send it their way. I have got a lot of doctors and nurses now at City of Hope that listen on a regular basis, and that
I
means
love that.
really a lot to me, actually. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. But another
love
great
it.
show, Adrienne. Everybody knows kind of what's going
Agreed.
on with me now, and
Yeah.
we keep moving forward, as they say.
We keep on keeping on. As our my middle school motto was, keep on trucking.
I like it.
Don't ask me why, but it was. So,
But by the way, you're too young to know this, but that was a very 70s thing. Keep on trucking. And
well,
I always liked that,
it's
actually.
back, baby. It's back. Keep on trucking. Keep on keeping on.
Trucking.
You're looking good,
That's
Jay.
right.
I'm proud of you. I love you. We love all of you guys for listening.
Thank you.
And we will catch you in
too.
the next episode.
And we got to remind everyone that cancer sucks.
But your life doesn't have to.
No, it does not. Thanks, everybody.
I
We'll
love
see you
it.
next time.
See you next time. Bye.